The plane was silent, the lights dimmed, and most passengers were either dozing or watching movies. It was late, the kind of flight where no one wanted a disturbance. That's why, when a 16-year-old black girl remained asleep in her seat, no one paid attention, except one flight attendant. She approached with irritation in her eyes, as if the sight of the sleeping girl offended her. First, she lightly shook the girl's arm. No response. Then stronger. Still nothing. The attendant's expression hardened, turning an ordinary moment into something darker. Instead of gently waking her, she treated it like disobedience, like disrespect, like a child refusing to follow orders, even though the girl wasn't even awake. Passengers near them sensed something wrong. The attendant's voice rose, not loud enough to be a shout, but sharp enough to cut through the quiet air. The sleeping girl didn't move. Minutes passed. Suddenly, the attendant grabbed her more aggressively, and the situation escalated, not because of danger, but because of prejudice hidden under a uniform. When the girl finally slumped forward unconscious, the cabin erupted in shock, but the absolute silence came later, when her father arrived. Watch until the end. Wait a second, tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Her name was Amara, 16 years old, smart, introverted, and exhausted from months of studying for college entrance exams. This flight was supposed to be a break. She was traveling to meet her father, a man she admired deeply, a man who worked hard, traveled often, and constantly reminded her that she deserved respect wherever she went. But no one on board knew anything about her. To the flight attendant, Amara was just a young black girl traveling alone. Someone easy to dismiss, someone whose comfort didn't matter. Before takeoff, Amara had taken her medication for migraines, the kind that left her drained. She leaned her head back and drifted into a deep sleep, calm and harmless. Hours passed. Passengers whispered, children cried, engines hummed, and Amara stayed asleep. When the flight attendant noticed she hadn't responded during a routine check, irritation replaced concern. She didn't consider that the girl might be unwell or simply tired. Instead, she assumed arrogance, defiance, a teenager ignoring authority. She shook Amara's shoulder. No reaction. She shook harder. Still nothing. The frustration on her face wasn't professional, it was personal. Passengers began to notice. Something in the attendant's attitude felt off, like she wasn't waking a passenger, but disciplining a problem. And Amara's quiet rest was about to turn into a nightmare. The attendant leaned over Amara, grabbed her arm, and pulled her into an upright position. Amara's head dropped forward, her body limp. She was still asleep, barely conscious. Instead of seeking medical help, the attendant viewed this as a deliberate refusal. She scolded a sleeping girl, speaking as if Amara could hear every word. A couple nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. Something wasn't right. The attendant began shaking her again, this time more roughly. Amara's body reacted weakly, just a twitch, a faint movement, but she didn't wake up. Instead of checking her pulse or calling for assistance, the attendant dragged her up, forcing her to sit stiffly. Amara's head rolled to the side, her breathing shallow. Passengers watched, unsure whether to say anything. Many had been conditioned to believe flight crew couldn't be questioned. Some recorded quietly, capturing the cruelty that was unfolding in plain sight. The attendant called another staff member, insisting Amara was refusing to cooperate. She demanded her to sit correctly, open her eyes, and respond, none of which she physically could. Still, no one acted. Minutes passed. Amara's breathing slowed. Her lips turned pale. She slumped again, barely hanging on to consciousness. The attendant grabbed her shoulder violently, trying to force her awake. Then her body went still. Her head fell forward. Her chest stopped moving for a moment that felt like eternity. Gasps spread across the rows. Someone finally shouted for help. A doctor on board rushed to check her pulse. He demanded oxygen immediately. Only then did panic reach the crew. The oxygen tank arrived too late. Amara remained unresponsive, her body too weak, her breathing too slow, her skin cold. The doctor's face turned grim. He kept repeating one sentence: she's been unconscious for a while. That was when passengers realized the cruel truth. This wasn't an accident. It was negligence. It was discrimination. The flight made an emergency landing, and every eye on board waited, breathless, for what would happen the moment they touched the ground. Paramedics rushed in the second the doors opened. Amara was placed on a stretcher, an oxygen mask pressed to her face. She slowly regained shaky breaths. Her father hadn't arrived yet, but everyone felt dread in the air. Minutes later, airport security cleared the walkway. A tall man in a tailored suit strode in, expression calm but eyes burning with controlled anger. His presence alone made the crew stiffen. He reached Amara, touched her forehead, listened to the paramedics, then turned toward the crew. This was not a regular. Father, this was the CEO of one of the airline's biggest corporate partners, a man whose decisions could change the company overnight. Passengers stepped forward, showing videos. The doctor testified about the delayed response. Every camera captured the moment truth outweighed excuses. The flight attendant shook, pale, realizing who she had mistreated and why the world would no longer stay silent. Not because Amara had power, but because someone powerful cared about her life. The investigation was immediate and public. Every recording went viral, and millions of people watched a 16-year-old black girl treated as if her life didn't matter. News channels demanded answers. Lawyers stepped in. Activists spoke out. The airline issued statements, but apologies couldn't erase what happened. The flight attendant was suspended, then permanently removed. New rules were created to protect minors, to ensure medical checks were mandatory, and to prevent racial profiling from hiding behind uniforms. But the most significant impact wasn't corporate. It was human. Parents around the world saw their own children in Amara. Teenagers felt her fear. Communities recognized the quiet violence of discrimination, the kind that doesn't need slurs or shouting, only indifference. Amara recovered. Her father stayed by her side, and together they refused to let this become another forgotten tragedy. They pushed for change, publicly and legally, forcing the world to confront what it prefers to ignore. Sometimes racism screams, sometimes it whispers, but every time we stay silent, it grows stronger, and every time someone stands up, even one person, it begins to die. Which country and city are you watching from? Take care.